Hey YouTube, this is Jaden Storm coming from Team Shadow Strike, and today I'm bringing you a video talking about this upcoming meta. This meta, it just recently started with the release of BTG1 Generation Stride. I thought I had the box here to hold up and show you guys, but apparently I don't. But, wait, do I? Nope, I do not. Never mind. So, okay, so y'all know, I'm sure by now, I was going to film this yesterday, but, after work and a long day, guys, I was exhausted. I just didn't have the energy. So luckily, I did make a lot of things that I want to talk to you guys about because I still am pretty tired, but I wanted to get some videos up for you guys. So, okay, so first off, this meta, it started on March 13th, 2015 when the new set drops, and I consider a meta from being from one major set to another. Extra boosters and trial decks, they just kind of get thrown in there, and when they're released, then it will determine where they fall. So, if, say, Dimensional Police and Aqua Force, which are getting more support before May 22nd, which is when Booster Set 2 comes out, where they fall on this particular list may not be where they'd fall when their support comes out. So keep that in mind. So anyway, guys, I'm going to jump straight into this meta video. Now, one thing I'm also going to say is, real quick, is a fellow friend of mine and teammate that you've heard me talk about quite a bit, my friend Ryan. He is going to start doing YouTube videos, and he is going to make a video discussing the meta that he believes, and give you his thoughts on it. He's going to be doing a guest upload on my channel, so he is new to this. So if you guys will do me a favor, when he does do guest uploads on my channel, please go check him out and subscribe to his channel and show him support. I would really appreciate that. Okay, so first off, guys, I'm going to tell you what I think are the Tier 1 decks, the Tier 1.5 to 2 decks, and then I'm going to give you also 10 decks that I think that can go under the radar and still do very well. And I'll do my best to give you a guesstimate of how much the deck will cost if it's an underdog deck. But keep in mind, the price I give you, it could bounce up a little higher, it could go down a lot lower, it might be significantly different. It just matters of where you can find the cards. So I'm going to jump straight into this. Number one, I think the clear-cut option for the first for a Tier 1 deck is Dragonic Overlord the X. This deck is by far one of the best decks in the meta, if not the best. It has so many options of being able to go between to Legion consistently. You can simply just continue to Legion, get the Overlords back to your hand, and put triggers back to the deck, while having the threat of a restanding Vanguard and a Nuke 2 for your opponent to worry about, while being able to encompass this with Neo Flames and Burnouts and an amazing G-Unit and Root Flare and just everything else the deck has. This deck, it's the best Kagero's ever had because it regenerates real easy. This deck, when it legions, you're going to put Overlords back, then you're going to take an Overlord while putting triggers back, so technically you're only putting a fewer cards back into the deck, which makes them more likely to show up. So this deck, it maintains a hand so easily. So I don't really see this deck having too many problems. Now, I'm not saying this deck can't be beat. It is by far, in my opinion, the best deck of the format and will be so for a while. So do not expect this to be a quick thing. The X is going to be around for a while. I'm going to be doing a video talking about some things that the X players do, so maybe it can kind of give you a little insight to how an X player plays, because right now that is my main deck that I'm using in tournament plays, so I hope if you want, you can go check that out. The number 2 and only other Tier 1 deck in the format, in my opinion, is Oracle Think Tank. Now, Oracle Think Tank has been off the grid for a while. They have not received support since Set 9, I believe. They just kind of fell off the grid because Genesis came into being, and we just kind of forgot about Oracle Think Tank. Now, they got some Battle Sister support along the way, and I know there are a lot of fans of Battle Sisters out there, and that's fine, but they weren't what we would consider tier status. The Battle Sisters, I consider them more of a fun deck. And even though I love the Battle Sisters myself, I've never built them, but they've never, Oracle Think Tank hasn't in a long time had a deck that could be considered amazing, you know, and the new support from G1 with Susanoo, the new G units, it gives this deck new life. You will be seeing a deck profile of this on my channel. Today, actually, I went on to a website that was recommended to me by a friend called Big N Collectibles, and pretty much bought the rest of the stuff for not that much. So if you guys want, you can check that out when it comes. I ordered them literally today, which is on March 24th on a Tuesday, and so hopefully they'll be here by Friday. So maybe I can give you guys the deck profile Sunday if I'm lucky, you know, so I'm hoping that they get here quick. But Oracle Think Tank, and also this deck of literally just being able to continually add cards to your hands, plus still having access to Silent Tom, one of the best grade 2s in the game, if not one of the best cards overall. So anyway, guys, Oracle Think Tank, it's not like it does anything spectacular. It just gains a hand. It's my friend Ryan, if you check out his Oracle Think Tank Stride deck, he says, which I'll put the link to that deck profile in the description, it's a defensive deck. If you're playing against the Oracle Think Tank deck, the new version, you will literally spend the whole game just trying to eat your way through their hand. But that's what Oracle Think Tank has always done best. So I will be bringing you my deck profile when the stuff gets here, but Oracle Think Tank and Dragonic Overlord the X, in my opinion, are the two runaway Tier 1 decks. Just my opinion. So, next, going to Tier 1.5 to 2.0. There are 3 decks that fall into this category for me. Now, the first one that comes to mind is Royal Paladin. Royal Paladin, you know, ever since the Seekers came back around to save the Royal Paladin clan, they've gone from down here straight back up into the Tier 1 status. Now, the new Royal Paladins, I think they get Tier 1 once they get their new support from the next set in May 22nd. I think the addition of Samuel, the G unit that deals damage, the other grade 2 unit, and the new critical trigger, I think it gives them more of a push to cross the Tier 1.5 line and get to Tier 1. But as of right now, the Royal Paladins, it's actually a very good, very cheap deck. The only card that really is going to cost you a little bit of money is your Saint Blows for your G deck, but it is worth the money because that unit is very good. It is almost considered the win condition. So, Saint Blow averaging about $18 a card. Maybe a little bit lower, somewhere between 16 and 18 I think is more fair, but, you know, my whole thing is if I'm trading with someone and both sides walk away happy with what they got, it really doesn't matter what the card's worth to whatever the card is, quote, going for. So, Royal Paladin, this deck is going to be, it's going to be around for a while. It's, I like the Royal Paladin deck. I think it's starting to turn into a very aggressive deck now that it can call grade 2s out of the deck. And call out extra attacks, and so this deck is very, very good. I think I'm comfortable saying this is a Tier 1.5 deck, closer to 1.5 than 2, just because of all the options that the deck has. So if you're looking for a good deck to start getting together that will be Tier 1 eventually, Royal Paladin is a good thing to look at. And plus, Royal Paladin, the one thing they've always had for them is they're never that hard of a deck to play. They're generally a pretty good beginner's deck, but also can be used in even by higher players have more... wow, that came out real wrong. It can be used by players with a lot more experience and still be very good. That's the beauty of Royal Paladin. You can be new to the game, or you can be a 2-3 year veteran, or if that's even possible for English players, but you can have played that long and still be just fine with Royal Paladin because it is so good and has so much to work with. So Royal Paladin, in my opinion, closer to Tier 1, you know, but it's just not there yet. But once we get set 2, it will cross the Tier 1. Next is Gear Chronicle, and I'm not saying this is closer to 1. I'm not saying it's closer to 2. I'm saying it's right here. It's right in the dead middle. It is tier 1.5 even. Not 1.51, not 1.4. It is 1.5. It is right on the line. It doesn't... This is the weird thing about Gear Chronicle. Their whole strength lies in their G zone. They have some of the best G units there are right now. They have Ragnarok. They have Chronos Command. They have, those 2 units alone give the deck so much pressure, because if you're playing Gear Chronicle and you manage to stride a Chronos Command and you catch your opponent without a perfect guard, it will devastate them, because you're going to take away their entire rear guard, and they may not be able to recover from that if they're not playing a deck that allows for that. Gear Chronicle right now, like I said in my Gear Chronicle discussion, I think the deck will become tier 1 as it gets more support, but as of right now, Gear Chronicle is still very young to the game, even though they came in with a lot of great things. They have Chrono Jet Dragon, they have Steam Fighter, they have Chronos Command, they have Ragnarok. They have so much going for them in the early game, in the early stages of their entry into the game of Vanguard, but they're just not quite on that tier 1 cusp for me quite yet. Now with set 2 coming, it becomes tier 1 easily. Like, there's no more discussion. I think Fate Rider, a very underrated card in my opinion, gives the deck a lot of more options. I think giving it the second Legion that comes in set 2 gives it a lot of more options. The critical trigger that comes in set 2 is really good for the deck. I think just that last little pinch of support gives Gear Chronicle what they need to be considered tier 1. Now, don't let this lead you to believe that when set 2 is come and gone, that Gear Chronicle is done. I don't believe that, but I think they're going to continue to get better. But as of right now, I would say Gear Chronicle is a solid tier 1.5 deck. Excuse me, having access to Chronos Command, Ragnarok, Chrono Jet, these good cards, while having the ability to either nullify your opponent's ability to guard with grade 0s or grade 1 or higher, it gives the deck enough push to steal games. So I really believe it when I'm telling you that Gear Chronicle is right here. It is right on. It's right here. It's not gone. It's not worse or better. It's just 1.5 solid, but with G2 it becomes tier 1 easy. So if you are a Gear Chronicle player, stay strong, continue playing the clan, learn your strategy, and make it the best as possible. And then when set 2 hits, your hard work will pay off, and you will have yourself a very good deck. Now, for the last card between tier 1.5 and 2, is another clan that saw support in G1 that I honestly got to say is closer to tier 2. And that is the Extreme Battlers for Nova Grappler. Now, hear me out, guys. People were going apeshit over Victoplasma because it was the one G unit that could restand on its own skill. I don't really find him that threatening. Now, if you were in a game and I don't think just because it's sprung on you at the right moment when you don't have enough to guard for it or account for it, it becomes a deadly card. I'm looking at consistency. The one thing that I've always preached to you guys is you should always build your decks toward consistency, because consistency is what gets you games. The problem with this deck is it doesn't wow me. Honestly, guys, if you really wanted to play Nova Grapplers, in G1, you got Frogmaster, which is the limit eraser for Nova Grappler. I think you'd be better off playing the old Ethics Buster Extreme deck with that thing. I honestly do. Because that is more threatening than this, in my opinion. And if you wanted to, all you'd have to do is just take the Stride units and mix them in with the Beast Deities. It would do the exact same thing. So, no offense to Extreme Battlers. I know a lot of people were happy about them because the Nova Grapplers got a new archetype, but I just don't... I've won and lost against this deck, but every time I've lost to it, it was because I drew terrible, and when I have lost to it, I can see why people like it. You have a restanding G unit, you gain power when restanding, you have units that give power to units when they restand, so I can see why people like them, but I don't think they're better than Beast Deities. I just don't. Honestly, if I was an Overgrappler player, I think I'd be sticking with Ethics Buster Extreme, because I think that's one of the better cards that Beast Deities has gotten in a lot, or that Nova Grapplers has. But the Extreme Battlers, they're okay. Fortunately, I think they are relatively cheap, so if you are looking for a deck to play that will be fun, I don't really like Nova Grappler. I never really have. I don't know why. It just doesn't fit my style. I just don't like it. But it is a good. It's a good deck. It's just, I think the Extreme Battlers, they're going to fall off the map once G2 hits us. I think with Great Nature, Gear Chronicle getting more support, Neo Nectar coming back into the picture, I think all of these other clans that are going to be coming up in G2 will kind of shove Nova Grapplers out the door. So, no offense to Nova Grappler players, because, I don't have a problem with the clan. It's just, I don't see it being able to handle the upcoming clans like Aqua Force, Neo Nectar, Great Nature. All these clans are going to give the Nova Grapplers severe problems. So I just, if you're going to play Extreme Battlers, play the hell out of them right now and enjoy them, because when G2 comes around, I have a strong feeling that that is going to be a time when players are going to have to put down the Extreme Battlers and find some other option. Not that I'm saying that the deck is never going to be good again after this format, but I'm just saying I believe there'd be better options out there, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the underdog decks. I have written down here 10 underdog decks that I think can still be effective. Now, you might confuse me with when I say these 5 decks that I said, the first 2 being Tier 1 and the second 3 being Tier 1.5 to Tier 1.5 to Tier 2. You might confuse me with saying, well, okay, so you're saying any deck that has special stride units are the best decks out there, right? No. They just happen to fall like that. Some of these decks that I'm going to talk to you about in the underdog decks, I think they could even be solid Tier 1.5 to 2 point decks myself. But the beauty of being an underdog is a lot of times the reason you're called an underdog is because people underestimate you and you surprise everybody. So just because it did not fall in my Tier 1 or Tier 1.5 to Tier 2, it does not mean this deck is nowhere near as, reasonable to play as any of these other ones. I've always said this, guys, and I'm going to say it one more time. The deck it doesn't matter what deck you're playing. If you play the deck right and you play all the cards and you get you hit your skills at the key moment and you know when to use them and know when not to, that's what wins you games. It's your ability to strategize. Not saying the cards don't help, that's just my opinion. Okay, so here are my underdog decks, or under the radar, whatever you want to call them. Number 1 is Perdition. Now, Perdition, some people kind of shoved Perditions away once the X came out. Well, Perditions are still a thing, guys. I think if you take the old Perdition deck, which is Overlord Dragonuit, and you mix the Kagero Stride units in it, it's pretty much, just the same thing without the X. So I really don't think this deck's going to fall out of favor. I think Perditions are still a very good thing, and now that they did get one new support card in G1 that lets you Soul Blast 1, Perdition, and Unflip 2, I believe. So there are other ways. You can still make this deck work. So if you're playing Perdition and you don't want to invest the money in the X, don't feel the need to. You can just simply play Perditions and still be fine. Number 2, the Dauntless deck. I did a deck profile of my Dauntless deck, guys, and I firmly believe that is a huge underdog deck because of the new support. Because of the Generation Break 1 units in that deck, like Twilight Arrow, and then the Grade 2 and Grade 1 that gain 5k every time a unit is retired on your opponent's side. I think those 3 cards make that Dauntless a thing again. So if you have Dauntlesses, or if you're interested in seeing that, you can go check that out on the channel. Very, very good deck. I'm going to try and do some matches here soon, and I will use that deck to show you just how devastating it is. It shines in the late game. Number 3, Bluish Flames. Now, this is a deck that kind of has just fallen out off the face of the earth, in my opinion. Blue Flames, when they came out in set 16, they were just everywhere. Blue Flames everywhere. And then they kind of just went away, and I don't understand it. Now, Blue Flames, in my opinion, guys, if any of you guys are out there and you still have your Blue Flame deck, don't get rid of them. I think they're going to get more support. You want my reason behind that? Gaiard was acknowledged in the show. Gaiard plays the Blue Flames. So, therefore, I think the Bluish Flames will get more support in one way or the other. So, the Bluish Flames, in my opinion, they have not gone anywhere. They are still a very good deck. They still have the ability to have that Glory Maelstrom effect. They still carry that crit, and they still can swarm like hell. So, if you do have a Blue Flame deck, I would suggest you hold on to it. That's just my opinion. Number 4, Brawlers. This is a very, very cheap deck. Oh, I need to rewind here a little bit. On the Perdition deck, depending on what your boss monsters are, this deck can range anywhere between 1 to 150. You can use the Overlord. You can use Dragonuit. Believe it or not, Breakdown is not that bad. Pain Laser is not that bad. It just depends on how you want to order it. On the Dauntless deck, Dauntlesses have fallen way down. So Dauntless decks could probably be built for, if I had to guess, 125 would be a good guess, I think. Depending on also what you consider budget. If you pick out, if any of these decks sound like they would interest you, please let me know. And if you kind of give me your budget, I might be able to give you a little more straight answer, because I can't. What might be budget for Danny may not be budget for Tom, so you need to kind of give me an idea of what your area is if you're interested in seeing if one of these decks could work for you. Bluish Flames, I honestly think you could build Bluish Flames for under 140. That's including your Prominence Glares, your Perfect Guards, the whole 9 yards. Now for Brawlers, you can build this deck for under $100, I guarantee it. Because the only thing in this deck that is going to cost you a lot is maybe the grade 3s. The grade 2s aren't going to cost you a thing, and as for the Perfect Guards, you can use the old Narukami Perfect Guards. You don't have to use the Eradicator ones. So you can build the Brawlers for under $100 easy. Link Joker, number 5. Link Joker is still a thing, guys. I think Link Joker decks right now are under the radar for the first time in a while, but I still think they can be a threat. Link Joker will be getting more support in the future. They're going to get a new trial deck. They're going to be in set 3. So Link Joker's not going anywhere. So if you would, if you want to pick Link Joker up now, it would be a pretty good time because a lot of the stuff is dropped. Now, I'm sure we'll be getting a G Perfect Guard for Link Joker, so maybe if you do invest in Link Joker Perfects, I would just invest in the Deleter ones, just so you don't spend money on the Starvader ones, because I don't know what they're going for at the moment. Just something I would throw out there. Or if you can be patient, just wait for the new trial deck to come out. I'm pretty sure they'll have Perfects in them too, like these all have had, so. And as for Link Joker, you can use whatever you want. You can use Glendios, you can use the Legions like Blaster Joker and Imaginary Plane. You can go back to Chaos Breaker with the Limit Eraser. So there's a lot of things you can do. So Link Joker is still a thing. Number 6, D-Robo True Kaiser. Now, this is what my friend Christian's messing around with right now until his Cosmic Hero set drops in April. I think this deck is a very good underrated deck because of the fear, if you play the Break Ride with True Kaiser, Break Ride, then Legion, it pushes a large amount of power in 3 critical. The ability to swing for in the 30s or higher with 3 crit with a double shield break ability is pretty nasty. So, I think this deck is probably one of the stronger, decks. out there just because of that threat. Now, I will say, do not rely on this skill alone to win you the game. But True Kaiser, it's a pretty cheap card. I think it's only like $3 or $4. You can probably build that deck for 140, 50, somewhere in there, maybe lesser than that. It depends on what you find. And as for Link Joker, it would vary because of what you wanted to play. Number 7, Seekers. I think Seekers are still a very good thing. Someone asked me, hey, why didn't you do a Seeker Stride deck? Well, I am going to be doing a Seeker deck that uses Stride, but I'm not going to be pairing it with the new Ultimile unit. I will be pairing it with something else. I will be doing that deck profile for you as soon as I get all the stuff I need for it. There are 2 cards I'm missing, and once I get them, I will slap the deck together and it'll be ready to go. But Seekers, you can build Seekers probably for pretty cheap right now. I can imagine that Things Saver is down by now. He's probably like $15 if I had to guess, but so if you do want to play Seekers or you have your Seeker deck, do not think any less of it. You can simply just add Stride to it with the new Royal Paladin Stride units and you're fine. Literally, guys, just take 4 Saint Blow or just simply 4 of the trial deck G unit, shove it in your Seeker deck, and you are fine. Do not think you have to change your entire deck just for the Stride. You can literally take the Alfred Things Saver deck, or Alfred Sing Saver, I'm sorry, I'm going to call him by his real name. You can take the Alfred Sing Saver deck and mix it with the new Royal Paladin Strides, and that's it. That's all you need. And you can build Seekers for probably below 150 by now because Alfred's probably gone way down, and Things Saver's probably about 15, maybe even a little lower, I'm not sure. Number 8, Genesis CEO. The reason I say this, guys, this card reaches an insane amount of power while carrying an extra crit, while having a glory skill. This deck can still be a major threat. It amazes me that this deck just kind of fell off the grid. It was very popular, and then set 16 dropped, and it just kind of like disappeared. I do think the Genesis deck is still a very good thing with CEO, and then you compare it with Minerva. You compare it up with the other Legion. I can't remember her name. Midnight Regalia. I think it is Midnight Regalia something. You can do that. There are a lot of options with the deck. So Genesis CEO. Number 9, Revengers. Revengers are still a thing, guys. To be real honest, I'm kind of in the middle. To be real honest, and I've just never been that impressed with Abyss. I mean, yeah, he's good. He's a restander. He recycles, blah, blah, blah. Considering what I'm seeing for the new Diablo stuff, I'm thinking that is finally going to be the next great thing. If you compare the Revengers to the Abysses, because I know it's Revenger Abyss, but Blaster Dark Revenger and then Blaster Dark Revenger Abyss, I think the old Revengers were better, with Raging Form, Drag Ruler, and Mordred. I think that deck was better. If you look at the 2 time periods that those decks came out in. Because when Raging Form first came out, he was the clear-cut best deck in the game. But Revenger Abyss, with that ability of having to attack the same turn you Legion, I don't like limitations on me. So I think the new Diablo stuff is finally going to put Shadow Paladin back where they belong. Not that I'm saying that they're not good now. They're solid. You could probably take Revengers and put them at tier 1.5, closer to the right, closer to 2. But, or maybe, you know what, I'll even be a little more fair. You could put them right square in the middle with Gear Chronicle. But honestly, I'll be tired. I'll be glad when it's over because I'm ready to see the new Shadow Paladin stuff that'll kind of bring back what Revengers used to be. Just my opinion. Number 10 and the final is Witches. I think Witches can still be good. The only downside to this deck is Fianna. Fianna is where you're going to spend most of your money building this deck. The 4 Fianna in the deck. Now, Rias is dirt cheap. Deidre's probably doesn't cost much. But literally, I don't see This deck being a lot of money, you could probably build it just off like Big N Collectibles or Ideal 08, Ideal 808 for probably cheaper. One thing I would also always advocate to you guys is go on eBay and see people who are selling their decks, buy them, and then just mess with it to fit how you want to play the deck. But witches, in my opinion, are still a very good solid deck. I don't see them just going away. I think the Shadow Paladin Witches will get more support in the future, so do not worry. So anyway, guys, this has been my discussion on the meta. Any comments that you want to make in the comment section, or questions, if you have a question about the budget things we talked about, I'll be more than happy to help you. You just kind of have to give me your limit. Like if you say, okay, I want to build a Dauntless deck, and I have this much money. What can I do? Yeah, then I'll be able to help you a little bit more based on what you tell me. So anyway, guys, anything you want to say, excuse me, guys, anything you want to ask me or comment or leave feedback, just leave it in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer it. If you guys have a suggestion on a video, please leave it below. I've proved it to you guys time and time again. If you request a video, I will do everything I can to make it. And give you a shout out if you suggest it and I end up doing it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this meta discussion. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time.